Hey guys, welcome to Living in the Secret Place. My name is Woody. This is Madeline. This morning I woke up really early and brought you outside and showed you the sunrise and gave you a Devo from Joshua on entering your promise. I hope you enjoy it. Check it out. Also check out Tuesday, we're going to be releasing part 3 of the wilderness. We're going to talk about protecting your promise. This is just kind of a treat today. Hope you enjoy it. Stay in the secret place and God bless. Start today by reading in Joshua chapter 3. We're going to start there. It says, early in the morning Joshua struck camp and set out from Shittim with all the Israelites. They went as far as the Jordan, and there they camped before they crossed. And if you know, Jordan is the barrier between the wilderness and the promise. And 3 days later, can you imagine sitting for 3 more days in the wilderness while you looked over into your promise? So early in the morning they struck camp and set out from Shittim. Then they camped on the edge of the Jordan for 3 days, and the officials went through the camp and gave the people these instructions. When you see the Ark of the Covenant of Yahweh your God being carried by the Levitical priests, you will leave your position and follow it, so that you may know which way to take, since you have never gone this way before. Between you and the ark keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits. Do not go near it. Joshua said to the people, sanctify yourselves, since tomorrow Yahweh will work wonders among you. Joshua then said to the priests, take up the Ark of the Covenant and cross at the head of the people. They took up the Ark of the Covenant and moved to the head of the people. And here's what I find interesting, is that first of all, they camped right on the edge of their promise for days and looked over into it, and they waited for God, for the Ark of the Covenant to get out in front of them. And they had never ever gone that way before. And here's what I have to tell you, is that the promise that you're entering, you've never gone this way before, you may have never been this way before, but I encourage you to wait on God, to see God going before you, and follow Him into that thing in His own way. I know it's easy to want to swim across that river. It's easy to want to kind of do it your own way, do it yourself. It's easy for me to want to do it my own way and do it myself. But to wait on God's direction and wait on His move, wait on His thing that He wants to do. Because I think it's significant that when they did cross the river and go into their promise, the same miracle that happened whenever they entered the wilderness happened when they exited the wilderness. The same miracle of parting water. And so the first time, the first time that water parted, they left something. Whenever they entered into the wilderness, they left their enemies in the bottom of that river. They left all the enemies that were chasing them. And I know Freedom Conference is this weekend for our church, and I know several people are leaving. They're leaving things in the bottom of that river from Egypt. They're coming out of Egypt. They're getting free of things. And when you enter the promise, there's actually this moment where they take something with them out of the bottom of the river. I think it's just so significant that they took 12 stones for the 12 tribes that came out of Egypt, and they set up these stones, and so that they could forevermore look at those stones and go, God, this is because when God brought us out of Egypt, this is when God brought us to this land, and they're able to tell generations the story about it. And I think when we enter kind of a new promise, a new season, We need to set up these whenever God does something miraculous like that in our lives, when it brings a moment like that in our lives, we got to set up these remembrance things so that we can tell our children about it. We got to kind of make, whenever Madeline was saved from drowning, we're going to eat a cake every year on that day and just celebrate what God did and remind her what God did. And that's just super important. But they're setting up stones right here. They're gonna cross, go on across. They're gonna cross to their promise, and they're gonna set up these 12 stones. And what's crazy is the stones were actually, the Bible talks about it being under where the ark stood. So the ark is actually going to go out into the water, and it's going to stay in the middle of the river. And the priests are going to be standing on these stones in the middle of the river until all the people pass by. You don't have to get in a hurry with your promise. I think there's an urgency to have what God is giving you. But I can tell you that the Bible says that the priest stood there until every person had passed through. And I just want to encourage you. I want to cast off that spirit of fear about that it's too late or whatever. I want you to know that the priests are still standing in the water, and they're going to be standing in the water for you. And I just encourage you to go ahead and just cross on that dry ground that's right there beside them. And as soon as you do, I believe they're going to come on and follow you. The Bible says that they then came out, and when they did, they took the 12 stones with them. They set them up as a memorial. So my encouragement to you today is that God is going to make a way for you to enter your promise and to set up a place of remembrance for it. When he does, when he works a miracle in your life in some way, just set up a thing of remembrance for it and remember it. Teach it to your kids. Tell them what he did. And then I just encourage you. I know it gets kind of frustrating to be right on the edge of a thing, to see it from where you are, but I encourage you not to swim across. Don't take a boat across the river. Wait on God to part that river, part that thing, because whenever he does, you'll have something to point back to and show your children. This is when God did something amazing in my life. And thank you so much for joining me out here for the sunrise. And it's really peaceful. I'm going to hang out for a while. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you. Stay in the secret place.